Hi guys, how are you? Dr. Pam. Hello, 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 and thanks for hanging out with me for just a little bit. This video is recorded in April of 2025, so I thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching in April 2025 or April 2028 or whenever. Most of the theorists will never change. What I do suggest if you're watching our videos is watch some older videos and then watch newer ones, and you'll see as I went along, I got to be a better tutor. It really was from my clients telling me exactly, not exactly, but the question is always saying, what was on the test? What subject, what content was on the test that I didn't teach you? We take full ownership for that. So we always want to make sure that we learn what's on the test. But really, whether it's an old video or a new video, remember, Parsons has been dead forever. We talk about client-centered. He was alive when I first started tutoring, but he's dead since then, right? So I really want to thank you for bringing in the time, saving the time to make you a priority. This is our testing window. So between January and May, we are slammed busy. Whether you're trying to get in with one of us or you're trying to even get a test date, you'll find this is testing season. So remember, Pearson VUE does all the testing. So I've got nurses who are trying to graduate. I've got lawyers who are trying to pass the bar. All of those things are happening at the same time. So this is definitely a really busy time of year for us. And we have had great successes. If you are, and please do subscribe to our paid channel. You hear people's real stories of what it was like. People who had taken the test 5, 6, 7 times and thought they would never, ever pass. We don't ever pretend to make you a better clinician or a better social worker or a better marriage and family therapist. Our job is to teach you test taking skills and to make sure that you have the content. I was feeling great this week. I'm not going to lie. We were getting on Facebook. We were getting emails. Dr. Pam, I passed. You're the greatest. I watched your video. I followed your 90-day routine. Oh, I was feeling high on the hog. Don't lie. Now I don't take ownership. I truly remember that my who I am, my gifting of teaching comes from my Heavenly Father. So I don't ever pretend that. I do love teaching, and I hope it shows in everything that I do. When I've got someone teaching a test that's nothing that's in our natural repertoire, I'll be studying like everything to try to figure out what does that client need to know. I'll buy every piece of material so I can give it to the client so we really understand what we're studying. Really, really good testing season. Oh. I will tell you though, I'll be totally honest. I had a call this week from someone that I really thought was going to pass. My clients will tell you that if you're in a session with me and I feel like I'm working harder than you are, that upsets me. And you are all therapists, right? That's my own countertransference. I want it more than the client does. I got to go back to therapy or go back to my team and trying to figure out why I'm studying harder than my client does. But what we know, just based on research of the 5 years we've been in business, is if you follow our guidelines, they're research based. We talk about neuroplasticity, how your brain works. Most of your auditory processors, you just didn't realize that. And many of you are just struggling. You've read other material, or you think you've read other material, and you've taken notes until your fingers are about to fall off, but you're finding that's not working for you. We will say you don't realize how you learn, and you don't realize that you're actually an auditory processor. Let me be in your head. If you watch my videos, you've been in a session, your family should hate me when it's time to test. I should be in every video in the car. I had a client this week and she said, my 4-year-old is crying because he doesn't like you, Dr. Pam. He doesn't want to listen to you. He wants to listen to Calm. So we talked about problem solving, right? We'll get him a little pair of headphones so he can listen to Calm and mom can still get what she needs to do. Okay. So again, I'm not asking for everything. I'm just asking for 90 days. So you never, ever, ever do this again. But getting back to my student, and she's not the only one, but of course, I've had a couple of people that I really thought would pass and didn't. So that always brings them some soul searching for us. Okay, Dr. Pam, what did you do wrong? And I'm always going to ask you when you are testing with us, I'm always going to ask you, was there anything on the test that I didn't teach you? Were there any subjects that you had never heard from? And this client, a couple of particular clients, that said, no, I recognize everything on there. So then I have to realize I have to look at what are the other, right? We can talk about the dependent variable. The dependent variable is how you pass the test. The independent variable is tutoring with us, right? As well as doing the homework and using the material that we supply to you. But if these two things aren't changing the dependent variable, your test is not working. I take it personally. What's going on? What did I do wrong? A couple of things that I see in common. And by the way, we are not going to set you up for failure. If you have a test date and you come see us, we're going to say, baby, you're just not ready. You're just not ready. And I'm not going to set you up for failure. You as an adult can decide whatever you want to do. A lot of my people go ahead and choose to take the test because they know then what to expect the next time. A lot of people just wait. I just get frustrated with people who are taking it 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Why are you doing that? And if you see in my other videos, I'm going to say, if you're taking a test that's $300 a pop, y'all could buy me some red bottoms. Size 11 narrow, just because you're sure. I do like the 5-inch heels too. Okay. Yes, I'll be 60 this year, but I still like to rock my 5-inch heels. Really, though, I don't understand. And I'm not being sarcastic. I don't understand. What I think is you don't think you're good enough or worthy enough to invest in tutoring. I could say you're cheap, but I don't really think that's it. I don't. I think when it comes to your kids, you'll invest in the best soccer equipment and the best basketball trainer and the boys coach and all of those things that I've done to help my children succeed in life. But when it comes to mom, sometimes we don't think we're worth the investment. When clients call us and say, I can't afford it, our response is, well, can you afford to keep taking the test again and again? And financially, maybe you can afford it. For me personally, I cannot afford. I don't have that much self-esteem. I am not going to lie. I don't have that much self-esteem. I need to go in knowing that I'm prepared, knowing that I've answered questions. We focus on content. We never, ever say take test questions. That is not how you learn. We have a very specific 90-day learning plan. And that's where we get our 97.6% passing rate. But I mentioned Dr. Pam has had some people that didn't pass. So then I sit down with the client and then I have to soul search. What did I do wrong? What did we miss? What did I not pick up on? I'll be very honest with you. It's not often material because we really teach you the content. And when you get that one sentence line and it says, what is the exception question? That that belongs to solution focus, right? When is the problem not a problem? When you see the word, give me an example of externalization, you know what that is because we've taught you content up, down, left, right. We spent all the time teaching you content. And in the last 30 days of the test, the test prep, we're focusing on how to answer the questions. So it is a very tried and true. We've got excellent results. We're a great program. But I have to address the people that don't pass with us. So we don't see it a lot. We do not see it a lot. But what happens is, especially this time, I had a client that had major anxiety. And we always suggest accommodations. And remember, when you're trying to get in that 30-day window, like if you miss this test just for a little bit, less than 10 for the LCSWs, and anything of the CPC or NCE, most often you can take it again in 30 days. And people who miss by 5, 6, 7 want to get in right away and take it again. So when I say to you, I think you need accommodations, I think your anxiety is kicking your butt, many times clients choose not to listen to that, not to apply for the accommodations because that takes additional 6 to 8 weeks. Their choice. However, this week, when my client that I was so sure would pass, I really, I did some soul searching, and in conversation with her, she needs accommodations. American English is not her first language. And I'll remind you, there's a difference between American English and British English. If you learned English as a second language outside the United States, There are many idioms that you just don't understand. So if you're trying to learn those, again, individual counseling, individual coaching, small group coaching is the way to go. I can teach you the vocabulary. My clients, my staff can teach you what that means to add to your vocabulary list. Little things that you think that you know, many times you really just don't know. Okay. But so what we're always going to recommend that you do is you get to use DABDA. Right? Kubler-Ross, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. It's okay to sit home and cry. It is okay. It is okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. If you remember Kubler-Ross's stages, she said that we all go through the stages, just not all at the same time. For the test, we all get to acceptance, but in the real world, we know that's not true. People still die being angry. People still die being mad. But for the test, everybody eventually gets to acceptance. And you remember, as I coach, I will coach to the test and explain to you the difference in the real world. I don't make you a better counselor, a better social worker. I make you a better test taker because it's a standardized test. But I still have to address the problem. What happens when I don't pass? So here are some tips that we really, really want to make sure that you have. I said starting with DABDA, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Okay. Feel sorry for yourself. Cry. This is devastating, especially if you put your time and your money and your energy and a job is waiting for you, or you have told people and everybody's waiting for you. And if you don't pass, it's not only embarrassing to you, you have to share with other people. It questions your self-esteem. It questions, am I meant to be a good therapist? And I'll always tell you those things are not related at all. Is there a relationship between passing the test and making more money? Heck yeah, that's a correlation. They're related. Is there a relationship between you passing the test and being a better clinician? Not at all. Not at all. So after we've gone through DABDA, cried and boo-hooed and being upset, being angry, Dr. Pam, I paid you all that money and I didn't pass the test. We don't leave you there. We're really not. We're going to tell you to get right back in with us within 30 days while the material is still fresh, so I can make sure that you understand why you missed the questions. So if you study with us, or if you're watching a video, remember, I always ask you if you just write down as many topics as you remember. Whether you got it right or not, just write down the topics, because then we can come back and focus on really what you need to learn. And that's what we want to do, because everything we do is individualized, just on what you need to learn. Maybe you're missing that gestalt is the here and now, but you might be missing the fact that it's also the importance of getting rid of the unfinished business, right? He talked about the empty chair. He talked about role-playing techniques. So maybe there's some pieces of the question that you're missing. Remember, because remind you, we teach it's a reading test. But what to do if you fail the test? So if you tutor with us individually, I give you my phone number. I know. Not the business line. You get my personal phone number. So what I'll do is I'll say your test date, and especially if we're tutoring individually, I pray for you. I pray for you the day of the test. I pray for you the day before. And not everyone needs to believe in prayer, but I pray. I pray, Jehovah Shalom, God of peace. I pray that when you're in that room, that there's anxiety does not bother you. I pray that the information flows so freely from your brain to your fingertips that it's like night and day. The test is hard. I had someone this week who passed with her LCSW with a really, really high score. She scored like 113, 115. That's a great score on my licensed clinical exam. And I think she needed 102. And prior to that, her scores had been in the 80s. So she had really come up like 40 points. Okay. So that person, when we were talking about that, I prayed before her, before the test. If you have a test date and I have a time, I'll pray with you. I believe in my higher power, whatever higher power you believe in. But remember, I also believe faith without works is dead. Girl, you can fast and you can not eat and pray, but if you ain't opened the book, you're still not going to pass. I pray shalom. I pray peace, that when you're in that test room, that you're filled with this extraordinarily peace. And I said that to this particular student because she said the test was easy. It's her third time taking it, and she said it was easy. And that's just not true. Remember, parallel tests, the tests, you have the same value. It was easier because she knew the content, and that reduces her anxiety. Okay. So what to do if you fail? First of all, it's okay to cry. It is really, really okay to cry. And I give you my phone number either way, whether it's with the word shouting hallelujah or I'm consoling you. In that consoling you, I'm still going to ask you, right, while it's still fresh on your mind, what did you see that I didn't teach? What did you see that my staff didn't teach? If there are things that we're not teaching you, our fault. Also, a lot of those questions are going to be future questions. So we really want to know what might be in that future. Don't panic. Take a deep breath. Okay. I didn't pass. You get it. The lady hands you your paper and, they never smile, right? Like, and you roll it over and it says fail. And especially if you've seen fail before, you feel like the world's going to come to an end. You feel like you've wasted your money and your time in this field and you have no idea why you're in this field. I'm going to remind you, don't panic. Just breathe. Many of you crumple up and tear up your score reports. It's really okay if you do that because we can go back and find them later. Because when you sign up for a session with us, I'm going to say, what areas did you struggle with the most? I'm going to look at the test questions and figure out what areas we really need to focus on. But remember, the test is, you can't just go back and study that one portion. You might get a totally different test the next time. So we're going to go back and refresh on everything. And then we're also going to then look at the areas that maybe you didn't do well. In all of the tests that I teach, the biggest one is the interventions. That's knowing the theorist. If the question says a behavioral theorist is working with a couple, the behavioral theorist is not going to address family, it's not going to address feelings. I just have to know what a behaviorist does. A person-centered person, right? Carl Rogers, he's not going to have a structured setting. So those are the interventions, the treatment plan, the counseling where most people really struggle. I cannot tell you how important it is to learn those. That's the basis of why we do what we do. Okay, so reflect yourself honestly. Did I study consistently? Remember, Dr. Pam says 3 separate hours a day, same content. And I wrote this program because I was a busy single mom. So 3 separate hours a day does not mean sitting down taking notes for 3 hours. It really means letting me be in your head in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. Same video. I want you to know the exact words I said. I want you to remember the diagrams that I use. If you study with us individually, you'll see I'll use the exact same pictures. When you get a Piaget question, and it says schema, and you're not sure what it looks like, I want you to have that image seared in your head of SPCF, right? The sensory motor, object relations, object permanence develops. In the second stage, sensory motor, egocentrism, terrible twos. That is what I want you to have in your head. What we believe is if you're studying that and you cannot tell me what that meant when you get up from studying that, you're not ready. You cannot memorize this. And why would you? This is what you do. You go to work every day and you practice Carl Rogers. Clients say some things to you and you're like, oh, thanks for sharing, right? Your insides are freaking out, but you don't do that. So a lot of people tend to be mad at the test people. Test retest reliability says the test is both valid and reliable. I will tell you, when you see people that have passed the test the first time, I will tell you that they probably had a test taking skills class or workshop. The people who pass the test on the first time are no smarter than you. They probably did really well on the GRE and the SAT because they had some tutoring or someone taught them how to pass a standardized test. They are just rules that the test that everybody takes. We don't care what you do. We don't care what you think. What matters is what would that theorist say? My super, right? He's a career guy. So my social workers would need to know that. But for everybody else, super's a career guy. Super said that you should be in your career fully satisfied, really in your career by 24. That's the right test answer. I'm like, I ain't never been tested. I wasn't ready at 24. The test doesn't care. It only matters is what did the super say? Okay. Did I understand the material or just memorize it? If in non-clients, I'm walking down the street and I see a mom and the baby's pushing her pretend baby in the carriage, do I understand that that is something little kids do? That term is animism, right? Or have I just memorized it for the test? Did I take enough practice exams? We are huge fan of taking practice exams after you learn content. Absolutely. 30 days before your test, we say purchase Pocket Prep. We'll give you questions. 30 days before your test, you need to learn how to answer the questions. But taking test questions is not studying. I cannot tell you how important that is. Was test anxiety a factor? Most often it is. I talk about the Yerkes-Dodson theory. The Yerkes-Dodson theory says that if my anxiety is so high, I cannot do peak performance. It's just not possible. So what I want to know is, did I really have anxiety? Remember, on your accommodations form, you can't ask for test anxiety. You have GAD, free-floating 6-month anxiety that gets worse right before your test date. Well, it's part of classical conditioning, right? You have taken the stimulus is the test. Maybe you've taken it before, or you've read on Facebook how awful it is. So now your response is paired to the test. We also recommend that our students stay off Facebook a month before the test. I do not need to hear how 67 people failed. I do not need that. I need to trust the knowledge that my tutor has instilled in me. We ain't trying to teach you everything. We're trying to teach you the most important things. So if you see a name that you don't recognize, it's okay. You'll recognize the other people. By the way, it's a reading test. It's a reading test. I hear so often, well, I had some of those exact same questions on the practice test you gave me, Pam. You might not have. You might have had similar questions, and then you thought they were the same and you didn't read them. It's a reading test. What we teach is you read all 4 questions, right? Sorry, you read the stem, the meat of the question. Tell me in your own words that you understand what is happening. Read all 4. Rule out 2 that can't be true. Those not questions, those little boogers, we're going to rule out things that are true, right? So then, create a new study plan. Test taking skills are learned. The Spearman G test question for my NCE people most often is test retest. What it says, if you take the test and you go back and you study the exact same way the next time that you studied the first time, you're going to get the same score. And remember, if you're taking a test that has the LCSW has 200 questions, right? 40 don't count. The LPC has same number, right? So we know that so many of those questions don't count. If you are just remember in your first half of the test or the second half of the test, it's evenly divided. So 20 in the first half don't count, 20 in the second half don't count. The first part and the second part are not any harder. It's your anxiety kicking your butt most often the first time. If you have anxiety, you have generalized anxiety. Ask your doctor, ask your therapist, ask your friend who's a doctor or a therapist to sign your letter. There's a form on all of the sites, right? But what we really want to do is you can write a letter or do the form. It takes 6 to 8 weeks in most states, right? Remember, though, they're never going to say no. They're not going to say, no, you don't have ADHD. No, you don't have GAD. They're going to request more information. And all you're going to do is go back to your doctor. But one of the ways to make sure we ensure that from going back and forth is to have your doctor, your therapist, your friend who's your therapist, write what you want specifically. You do not have to have GAD. You have to have the symptoms of GAD. It doesn't have to be an official diagnosis. What that looks like for most of my clients is that 2 or 3 weeks before the test, their anxiety's through the roof. They can't sleep. They're having bad dreams about Dr. Pam. They wake up in their cold sweat and they see the bell curve in their face. That's anxiety. 2 extra hours will give you time to get up and stop and breathe, and the clock won't stop, but you have that time. And also the private room, because if you're used to tutoring with me, we talk out loud. And many of you are auditory processors and you don't realize it. If you want food or water, those have to be written in your accommodations. I had a client a couple weeks ago. She had double time. She was there for 8 hours. She had a smorgasbord. She had some bananas, some fruit, some drink. I mean, she had a whole smorgasbord. She'd planned there to be the whole day, and it was fine because her accommodations said it was okay. Please don't be afraid to apply for accommodations. Something simple as just being pregnant, right? I don't know about y'all, but when I was pregnant, I had to pee all the time, the baby dancing on my bladder. I normally say, because I'm old, I'll be 60 this year, and my bladder, I got to go to the bathroom. And when I get stressed, my gastrointestinal system does some strange things down there, and I might have to go to the bathroom. And I can't focus on the test when all of those things are taking place. 2 extra hours, a very standardized, and don't ask for extra time, ask for 2 hours. If you have learning disabilities, then you're going to ask for other things. You might need to have a reader and a recorder. Those things are fine. Back in the day when I very first started, what we had was before COVID is the reader was sitting on beside you, reading over you. No. Now they have their own paper and they're reading. They get paid the same whether they read 27,000 words or 5 words. If you don't like them reading every word, it's fine. Just tell them. It's really, really okay. This is your Super Bowl. We want this to be your very best. It's called peak performance. So create a new study plan. And I hope that includes academic coaching for world changers. Really, it's worth it to invest in yourself to do this test just once or just one more time. Guys, I thank you for tuning into our channel. I thank you for watching our video channels. If you're not sure how to get to us, there's a link below. Remember to like and subscribe. We release new videos often. We do have a membership channel, which is a paid channel. And that way you just get to hear me teaching, or you get to hear some of my passers share their story. And we like that because that definitely helps support people who are struggling. This test does not define you. There's no correlation between being a good therapist and being a good test taker. What I tell you face to face most often is you're a sucky test taker, but you're an excellent clinician. I will never make you a better clinician, but I'll make you sound really smart with some big old words that we're going to use. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if you've passed the test, please reach out to us so we can celebrate you. We have a passer party coming up soon. And if you're still struggling, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. That's what we're here for. We got you. We got you. We got you. We are tutoring and coaching. We understand we're all adults. And I've learned so much from my clients. You're the best, the brightest, the smartest. That's why you don't know how to take a standardized test. I hope I see you soon in one of my individual courses, my prep courses, my boot camp courses, or with one of my coaches. Remember, everybody on my staff has been in the other side. Thank you guys. Bye-bye. And thank you for tuning in to a short video with Dr. Pam.